Welcome to Michigan's WW1 Centennial News Report. I'm your host, Dennis Skupinski. During this program, we're going to look at Michigan's War Dog Memorial, located at the corner of 11 Mile and Milford Road in Lyon Township. It's one of only 18 in the United States dedicated to the memory of war dogs. War dogs have been used for the United States Army and other services from the First World War up to the present War on Terror. The mission of the Michigan War Dog Memorial is to continue the restoration of this hallowed ground into a park setting and maintain that setting for the purposes of allowing internment of retired military working dogs and retired service dogs, to provide internment with full honors at no cost to the handler owner, to provide research for military records and/or service records. This mission will be accomplished by private and corporate donation. As we examine some of the gravestones of our canine heroes, I just wanted to point out that we celebrate the memory of these brave heroes on March 13th. It's known as Canines Veterans Day. If you're in the area, please stop by for the ceremony at the War Dog Memorial. During the First World War, animals played an important role. The most important animal was the horse. This was the first European war since ancient times in which cavalry did not have a major role. All major combatant countries began the war with cavalry forces, but found that changes in weaponry and aerial reconnaissance rendered the horse cavalry obsolete. Even still, the horse was an important draft animal. All the combatant forces used draft animals to transport supplies and equipment as well as moving artillery. Some other animals that were used in the war were camels. The British used a camel corps in the desert in place of horses because they lasted longer. Some places in Europe they used elephants to move heavy items and carry heavy items. Then somebody got the idea to mount a machine gun on an elephant. Although these were never used in war, but perhaps the most useful animal outside of the horse was the army mule. Both sides used mules as a reliable form of transport, which could carry heavy loads over poor muddy roads. Another important animal during the war was a dog. The dog could be used as a messenger and proved as reliable as a soldier running dangerous missions of carrying messages. The complexities of trench warfare meant that communication was always a problem. The field communication system was crude, and there was always a real possibility that vital messages from the front would not get through. With dogs, the messages usually got through. The French and German armies trained their dogs to be sentries. With their keen senses, they alerted their masters when danger was present and the enemy was near. They also used dogs as light transport, carrying ammunition, water, and supplies to troops in the front. Dogs filled a variety of roles for the European armies, serving as light draft animals, and also used to string communication wires in the trenches. Notice the spool of wire on a dog's back. Although war dogs filled a variety of official roles, probably their best role was man's best friend. They became pets and mascots of various soldiers and units. Being in the front lines, of course, they were facing the same danger as the soldiers. Like the soldiers who were exposed to gas and shrapnel and other dangerous objects, dogs started wearing gas masks and other protective equipment in order to protect themselves from the elements of war. One of the other vital roles that war dogs filled during the war was that of an ambulance dog. The dogs were usually marked with a red cross and let loose in no man's land to locate wounded soldiers. Once they located a soldier, they would usually bark until help arrived. Usually the dogs were not shot at because they were wearing a red cross. Here's a picture of American ambulance dogs receiving cheers as they are paraded through the streets in a victory parade. The most famous dog to emerge from the war was from Connecticut. His name was Sergeant Stubby. He was a bulldog terrier with a short stubby tail. Sergeant Stubby was with the 102nd Regiment of the 26th Division while it was training for war on the campus of Yale. Private John Robert Conroy of Connecticut stowed Sergeant Stubby below the deck on the SS Minnesota when his regiment shipped off for France. Sergeant Stubby first entered the trenches in February of 1918. He was wounded twice, once by shrapnel and once by gas. He participated in over 17 battles. Trained to recognize English, Stubby was also keen to locate American wounded soldiers in no man's land, the area between the trenches. He would dash out there when he heard soldiers speaking English and stand near the wounded, barking until a medic arrived. One time he accosted a German soldier mapping out American trenches. Stubby bit him and caused him to trip. American soldiers then took the German prisoner. For this heroic deed, Stubby was promoted to the rank of sergeant, the first animal ever to be given that rank in the U.S. military. Pigeons were used extensively in the Great War. Man-made communication systems were still crude and unreliable, so dogs and pigeons were used as a form of communication. Pigeons were found just about anywhere on the Western Front. They were used at the First Battle of the Marne in 1914. October 3, 1918, Major Charles Whittlesey and more than 500 men were trapped in a small depression on the side of a hill behind enemy lines. Here's the story of the most famous pigeon in American history. Cher Ami was the last carrier pigeon that Major Charles Whittlesey of the 77th Division had. The first two were shot out of the sky. As Cher Ami tried to fly home, the Germans saw her rising out of the brush and opened fire. For several moments, Cher Ami flew with bullets zipping through the air all around her. Cher Ami was eventually shot down, but managed to take flight again. She arrived back at her loft at Division Headquarters 25 miles to the rear in just 65 minutes, helping to save the lives of over 194 survivors of the lost battalion from the 77th Infantry Division. Cher Ami delivered the message despite having been shot through the breast, blinded in one eye, covered in blood, and with one leg hanging only by a tendon. During the First World War, the British Army employed over 500,000 cats to be used as gas detectors and also to catch rats in the trenches. Cats were also used in the Navy to catch rats that were on a ship and also became ships' mascots. In fact, since ancient times, cats were a sign of good luck. Whenever a sailor went to a port, he tried to pick up a cat in order to bring him luck. During the war, cats became the guardian of the food stores, and their effort was so important for the war effort that thousands of them were donated by the British and American public. During the war, Great Britain and other countries, all which had pet animals, were hard hit by rationing. In Great Britain, it was actually illegal to give cats milk to drink. Soldiers have always felt better for adopting mascots, and many cat mascots have earned their keep as stress busters. Animals in the World War had a variety of uses. Some were slaughtered and used as food for the soldiers, while others were used to transport goods. Some were used for messaging services, while others were used to save soldiers' lives. One of the interesting features of the World War were the large number of animals that were employed in it. Subsequent conflicts did use animals, however, in very small numbers. One other interesting fact about the World War was the large number of pets and regimental mascots that were used. Base Hospital 36 from Detroit was unique in that it used a goat as its mascot, as pictured here.